It was supposed to be a quiet shift at the Kuiper Deep Space Listening Station, tucked under the icy surface of Europa's southern pole. Thick walls of frozen water kept the outpost hidden from radiation and unwanted signals. The scientists stationed there called it the ear. That night, the ear picked up something it had never heard before. Dr. Lian Vora sat alone in the monitoring bay, sipping stale coffee from a tin mug. Her eyes were tired, her body sore from weeks without proper rest. Most signals were false alarms, solar flares, lost probes, old Earth broadcasts echoing through space. But this was different. It came in a sudden pulse, deep and metallic, rhythmic and slow. One tone. Pause. Two tones. Pause. Three. Lian blinked and leaned in. The pattern repeated, but not like human code. It was mathematical, ancient in feeling, like it had been waiting for someone to listen. She tapped her console and triggered a full system capture. The signal was coming from inside the solar system. Not from Jupiter, not Saturn, from Mercury. Her hands froze. That made no sense. Mercury had no known transmissions, no stations, no missions active, and nothing could survive under the planet's surface in that heat. Yet the signal repeated. Strong. Clear. Too precise to be random. She patched it through the main system and called for the supervisor. Nobody answered. That's when the lights flickered. Then the station's artificial gravity pulsed once, like a deep breath, then went still. Silence fell. The signal kept playing through the speakers, low and steady. Lian stood up, her heart racing. She walked to the observation window. Outside, Europa's icy plains looked the same, but above, Jupiter seemed closer, darker. For a moment, she thought she saw something move across the stars, something long and thin, like a thread of metal gliding through space. She blinked again. It was gone. The doors behind her slid open. She turned, expecting to see her supervisor or a maintenance tech. But the hallway was empty. Except for one thing, a smear of dark ash on the floor leading to the lift shaft. It hadn't been there before. Lian's breath caught in her throat. She stepped back and tapped her communicator. No response. She checked the logs. 3 people were supposed to be on her level. All gone. No life signs. The signal from Mercury still played. Now the tones were faster. She pulled up the data stream and noticed something even stranger. The signal was embedding coordinates, not just in space, but deep under Mercury's surface. Not random, a location. Exact. It was like someone or something wanted to be found. She copied the file and started a secure transmission to Earth. But the system blocked her. Transmission denied. Level 5? Access only? Level 5? That was military. Before she could react, the room filled with a soft hum. The lights flickered again. On the main screen, her data feed stopped. Then the camera feeds throughout the station started turning on, one by one. They showed empty hallways, vacant labs, a mess hall with trays still on the tables. No people, no motion. Then, on feed 12, Lian saw something. A man, or at least something shaped like one. Tall, standing at the end of a corridor. His face was smooth, gray like clay. No mouth, no eyes, only a slit running vertically down the center of the head. It flickered with a faint red glow. He didn't move. She zoomed in. The signal changed pitch. Higher now. Urgent. She ran from the monitoring bay, data disk in hand. She had to find help. She had to get off this station. As she passed the hallway where the figure had been, it was empty, but another smear of ash was there, fresh, like it had just been made. She didn't look back. Down in the launch bay, her escape pod was ready, but she needed command clearance. Her badge didn't work. She slammed her hand on the console. Nothing. Then a voice came from the speaker, Dr. Vora. Do not attempt to leave? It wasn't a voice. Not really. It was mechanical, cold, like sound pushed through metal pipes. You heard it. You answered. Now you will go. Go where she shouted. Silence. Then the pod door unlocked with a hiss. She stepped back. Then footsteps. Slow. From behind, she turned. The man, No, the thing stood at the far end of the launch bay. Its head tilted, arms hanging low, fingers too long. The red slit pulsed in time with the signal. She had no choice. She jumped into the pod and launched. As the pod rose, she saw through the small window something that made her knees weak. The listening station was gone. Just gone. Only a smooth sheet of ice where it had been, with a perfect circle of melted frost in the middle, like something had erased it. She shook, trying to send a distress call. This time, it worked, but the message didn't go to Earth. Instead, a new signal pinged her pod. From Mercury. The pod's course adjusted by itself. She tried to stop it. Manual override disabled. The stars turned. Jupiter fell behind. And Mercury grew larger on the screen. She was going there. She was going where the signal wanted her to go. And the last thing she saw before she blacked out was the red slit appearing again. This time, not in a face, but in the pod's own display screen. Like an eye, watching. Dr. Lian Vora woke up to silence. Her body was stiff. Her head throbbed. The small escape pod was dimly lit with a soft red glow. Outside the window, the darkness of space had changed. Now she saw Mercury, huge, gray, and silent, just below her. Her heart beat faster. Mercury wasn't supposed to look like this. There were faint lights on the surface, lines, circles, patterns, like something artificial was etched across the planet's skin. The pod shook slightly. Then it began to descend. "No, no, no," she whispered. She reached for the controls again, but they were dead. The same voice came through the pod's speaker. "You heard it. You followed. You will open the gate." "I didn't follow," she said. "I ran." The voice did not answer. The pod entered the thin atmosphere. Mercury's landscape filled the window now. Jagged cliffs, deep craters, and something else. A black circle in the middle of a canyon, darker than space itself. The pod aimed straight for it. Lian braced herself. But instead of crashing, the pod slowed. It hovered for a moment. Then dropped into the black circle like a stone slipping through water. There was no impact. Only darkness. And then, light. Soft blue light filled the space around her. The pod floated gently down a long tunnel made of smooth stone or metal. It was hard to tell. Strange symbols glowed on the walls. Shapes moved like shadows just out of reach. Finally, the pod stopped. The door opened with a hiss. No voice told her what to do. No lights showed the way. But something in her mind pulled her forward. She stepped out. The air was warm. Heavy. Not Mercury's atmosphere. Something was keeping her alive down here. The tunnel led into a vast open chamber. Lian froze. It looked like a cathedral, but ancient, walls rising high into the dark, lit by glowing lines and rings. In the center stood a tall, stone structure like an obelisk, pulsing softly. At the base of it was a platform. It had the same symbols she'd seen in the signal. She stepped closer. Suddenly, her disk, the one with the copied signal, buzzed in her hand. It grew hot. Then the signal played again, loud and clear. One tone. Pause. 2. Pause. 3. The obelisk responded. Its surface shifted, melted, then opened like petals. Inside was a strange device, small, floating, spinning slowly. It looked alive. Then she heard a whisper, "Vora." She spun around. "No one there, Dr. Vora." This time the voice came from inside her head, soft, familiar. It was her sister's voice. Her sister had died on a deep space mission 10 years ago, lost. Never found. Lian stumbled back, but the voice kept calling. "You can find them. You can open the rest." "What is this place?" she cried. The chamber shifted. Walls moved, folding into new shapes. Images appeared. Old ships, missing stations, strange creatures, and signals. Hundreds of them, all lost, all pointing here. This wasn't just a message. It was a trap. Or maybe a map. She stared at the floating device. It pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. She reached out and touched it. Instantly, her mind filled with visions. Not memories, messages. From others, people who had followed the signal. People who had vanished. They were still alive in a way. Stored. Echoed. Somewhere deeper. The gate is open. One more must follow. Her body trembled. Something was being asked of her. She could say no. She could try to escape. But then she saw a face in the vision. A child. Her own. Her daughter. But her daughter was safe on Mars. Wasn't she? The vision faded. The floating device dropped into her hands, cold and heavy now. Behind her, a new tunnel opened. She turned. The voice returned, cold, mechanical now. You will deliver the beacon. Earth must respond. Lian clutched the device. She had no idea what it truly was. A weapon? A signal booster? A key? The floor shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Something was waking up. The pod lights blinked in the distance, calling her back. But when she looked up at the walls, she saw them moving. Figures trapped inside. Frozen faces behind glass-like stone. Eyes wide. Mouths open. Screaming. Lian ran. She jumped into the pod. The hatch closed, just as a deep sound echoed through the chamber. The obelisk had closed. The floor where it stood began to collapse, revealing a deep pit glowing with red light. As the pod lifted, the voice spoke again. This is only the first gate. You must carry it across the system. The pod systems returned. Coordinates loaded. Earth. Her hands shook as she held the device. It pulsed softly in her lap. Alive. Waiting. Dr. Lian Vora sat inside the pod, gripping the strange device. It felt cold now, like smooth stone, but it pulsed with life, slow and steady. She didn't know what it was, only that it came from deep inside Mercury, and it wanted to go home. To Earth. Outside the window, space was quiet. Mercury shrank behind her, its dark lines vanishing into the distance. The stars were still. Too still. She tried to send a warning to Earth emergency signal. This is Dr. Lian Vora from Kuiper station. Do not receive any transmissions from Mercury. Do not respond to the signal. The screen blinked message sent. Then, a reply came. Dr. Vora, we've been waiting. The voice was calm. Too calm. Who is this? Command Earth Base 7. You are carrying the key. Continue to Central Launch Field. Do not deviate. How do you know what I'm carrying? Silence. Lian's fingers tightened around the device. Who are you really? The reply was instant. We are the ones who first heard it. We built the ear. We built the eyes. We were warned. Then the signal cut off. She stared at the screen. Breath shallow. Built the ear? That meant they had known. For years. Maybe decades. They had known about the signal from Mercury. And still sent people to listen. People like her. The pod flew on autopilot, faster than before. Too fast. She tried to slow it. Override locked. Her stomach sank as Earth grew bigger on the screen. Then, as they neared orbit, a massive structure appeared above the planet. A dark satellite. Not one of Earth's. Long and sharp, shaped like a blade. It wasn't rotating. It wasn't broadcasting. It was watching. And it was old, Earth-controlled. Do you copy? She tried again. There's something in orbit. You need to look. Her message was cut. The pod's display shifted. It showed the beacon again, the object from Mercury, glowing brighter now. It was reacting to Earth, to something here. Then it pulsed 3 times. Fast. The same code. 1. Pause. 2. Pause. 3. But this time, the pod responded. Lights dimmed. Engines shifted. The ship began to descend. She wasn't going to a city or to a base. She was heading straight toward a desert. Sahara Outpost, Sector 0. A place she had never heard of. As the pod pierced the atmosphere, flames danced across the window. Her ears rang. The device vibrated. Then, everything went black. When she opened her eyes again, the pod had landed. Sands stretched for miles in every direction. The sky was gray. Not from weather, but from something in orbit, blocking the sun. The satellite. Outside, the heat shimmered across the ground. But in the distance stood a tall building. Silver, silent, like a needle stabbed into the earth. She stepped out, clutching the beacon. Suddenly, a vehicle approached. It stopped 10 feet from her. 4 people stepped out. All wore silver suits with black visors. They moved without speaking. "Where am I?" she asked. One of them stepped forward and spoke in a low voice. "You are at the final door." "What does that mean? Who are you?" He raised a hand and pointed to the device. "It shows you. That means you open it." The others moved aside. Lian's mouth was dry. Open, what? The man removed his helmet. His eyes were not human. Black, reflective, too smooth. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. What sleeps inside Mercury does not die. It waits. It watches. We are only its hands. Lian stepped back. "I won't help you," she said. He looked at the beacon in her hand. It glowed. "You already have." Suddenly, the ground shook. The sand around the silver building pulled away like water. A massive platform rose, covered in markings. It looked like the one on Mercury, but this one had chains. Thick metal arms, rusted and long, broken in some places. Something had been held here once, or maybe still was. She felt it before she heard it. A sound. The same signal. Louder. Deeper. Echoing inside her skull. She dropped to her knees. The men didn't move. "Make it stop," she begged. The man kneeled beside her. "You can't stop the voice. You are the voice now." The beacon lifted from her hand on its own. It floated above the platform. It opened. Inside was light, blinding, and something else. Too fast to see, too large to imagine. It was like space had been folded into a ball. Moving, breathing. Then the sky cracked. The satellite above Earth began to glow. It wasn't a satellite, it was a gate. And now, it was opening. Lian screamed. But the light took her, and everything went white. Lian woke up in darkness. Not the kind of darkness found in space. This was thicker, deeper, heavy, like it had weight. She floated, or maybe she was standing. She couldn't tell. There was no ground, no sky, only black. Then, faint lights appeared, shapes. Eyes, countless eyes, watching her from all sides. Some large as buildings, others small and close. The beacon floated in front of her, spinning slowly. It had changed. No longer smooth and cold, it pulsed like a heart. It whispered, "You have opened the first gate." "Where am I?" Lian asked. The answer came as images, not words, not thoughts. A memory of a time before Earth, before Mercury, before light. A time when they moved between stars, seeding gates in every system. Waiting. Watching. Lian saw planets fall. Civilizations rise and vanish. All centered around one thing. The signal. A call. A lure. And now, Earth had heard it. Now Earth had answered. "You're using me," she said softly. The beacon dimmed. "We awaken only when called." "You called us." "No," she whispered. "I ran. I didn't mean to. I didn't want this." Your voice was enough. The shapes around her moved closer. They weren't bodies. They were minds. Lives trapped in light. Echoes of others who had followed the signal. Some were screaming. Some were silent. One of them looked like her sister. Lian reached out, but the figure faded. "You lied to me," she said. Then the voice changed. "No. We showed you what you needed to see." To carry it, the darkness shifted. She was falling again, fast, spinning through space and time. Then, light. She gasped for air. She was back, lying on the ground in the desert, the sky dark above her. The tower was gone. The men were gone. Only sand and heat remained. She sat up. The beacon lay beside her, cracked, faintly pulsing. In the distance, helicopters were approaching. Vehicles. Military. she heard voices shouting. They found her. Strong arms pulled her to safety. Medics checked her. Scientists asked questions. But no one noticed the beacon. No one touched it. They took her to a base. They asked what she saw. She told them the truth. No one believed her. They took the beacon into a sealed lab. That night, it opened again. This time, it didn't glow. It hummed. Earth satellites went dark for 2, 3 seconds, just long enough to transmit something. The next morning, telescopes pointed toward the sun. Something moved near Mercury. Not a rock, not a flare, a ship, huge, silent, older than anything made by humans. It opened like a flower. And then it vanished. Lian sat in a room underground, watching the feed with shaking hands. "It's coming, isn't it?" one of the generals asked. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The signal began again. 1 tone. Pause. 2. Pause. 3. But this time, it came from everywhere. From deep space. From the oceans. From Earth itself. All the gates were waking up. And this time, they weren't asking. They were answering.